Josh Tewalt, folks. He is here to talk to us today about safety and liability in technology as a force multiplier. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Susan. As Susan said, my name is Josh Tewalt, former director from the Idaho Department of Correction, and we may need security here in just a couple minutes because we got some folks going to cause some problems. But I think really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. And while I think a lot of people here are here to showcase and highlight technology, one of the things that makes CoreForce so unique is a slogan that's printed just on the other side of the wall over there, and that is that they put the human in technology. The end goal for all of these technological advancements and how we are trying to introduce and iterate technology in the law enforcement field has to be about improving the experience for our staff, the human capital that drives this work, but also the people who are impacted by that important work. And that's never out of the forefront at CoreForce. But one of the things that makes me uniquely qualified to talk about liability in this particular field is my experience as a director for the Idaho Department of Corrections. I have been sued a lot for a lot of reasons. And what's inevitable in this particular field, especially when it is high risk, when the stakes are high, when the outcomes really matter, is that it really is going to be high liability work. And so I want to talk a little bit about a couple things a couple ways that the CoreForce technology can limit liability. But most important, when you reduce that liability, you free your staff to proactively engage. You give them permission to do the kind of things that we hire them to do, and that's have quality interactions with people, whether it's a law enforcement officer out on the streets or a correctional officer who's walking a beat in a housing unit. Freeing them up to have those interactions really, really matters. And we'll start by talking about body-worn cameras and how that technology is really changing the risk profile, not just in the community, but also in correctional settings. And I think what's most unique about that is the ability to add context and intent behind an interaction. And we can talk about work examples all the time, but I'll talk about one from home that I think is all of us can have some sort of familiarity with. And in corrections or law enforcement, if you didn't document it didn't happen. And a transcript flattens the incident. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it'd be like seeing an incident report about, an interaction my wife and I had at home where, she may ask me to do the dishes and I may very appropriately say, I'm going to get right on that, dear. And a transcript would show I was probably in the right. I handled that just perfectly. But a video might show that I was laying on the couch watching football, and she knew I had no intention of getting off my butt to go do what I was told. So she was probably justified in her use of force, as excessive as it may have been. But adding context to these incidents really helps tell the full story. And by telling the full story, we're freeing up our staff to be able to engage. In a correctional environment, it's especially important where you have the bedrock principle of corrections is holding people accountable for their actions, being firm and fair in how we apply our rules and procedures and policies. And that's tough to do. It's tough to hold someone accountable when you're the subject of retaliatory claims or accusations. And I think that the human response to constantly being accused of wrongdoing by trying to hold people accountable is to just withdraw. It's to keep your distance. It's to stay back and let things happen as they may and hope that things go well. But being able to record these instances, being able to have the context and the intent that the video affords really creates an environment where staff can be proactive and can do the things that we want them to do. And you can't undersell the importance of how it changes the relationship between staff and these kinds of investigations that are in fact a part of the job. It's very different to be investigated and have those allegations not be substantiated than to have that incident be investigated and to have you be exonerated. I think it removes a cloud from our staff who are approaching the work the right way and trying to do the right things in a way that previously we've been unable to do, because all we have is a he said, she said, or a flattened record of an incident that doesn't tell the whole story. So I really do think, the body-worn cameras and some of the other technology that's being introduced into this workplace can fundamentally change the nature of how our staff are able to approach their important duties. But I think there's also a missed opportunity for a lot of leaders in the law enforcement space. We talk a lot about efficiency and the efficiencies that technology can bring to the workplace, but we also ignore how we have been additive to the job duties of our staff for a long, long time. Because we have to document everything, because it didn't happen if it wasn't documented, and we have to cross T's and dot I's and do all the paperwork. We've become so additive of our job duties that we pay people to either be proficient tactically or to have good, positive interactions with people. But what we really have them doing is a lot of paperwork. And I think when you're able to layer technology with whether it's body-worn cameras, whether it's RTI, whether it's some of these other solutions, and you layer those things together, what you're doing is you're giving staff back time. You're giving staff back time to do the high-value, high-impact work that we hired them to do, and what drew them to the field in the first place. I've met with thousands of staff in the corrections field. I've sat through I don't know how many academy graduations, and I've never had a single officer come to me and say, hey, when can I get to the paperwork? That's what I want to do. Now, people are drawn to this work because of the opportunity that they have to make a difference, and it's our job as leaders in this space to utilize technology and layer these different solutions together in a way that allows them to do the things that we hired them to do and what drew them to the work in the first place. So we talk a little bit about the body-worn cameras and some of the other bits of the tech stack. We've talked a little bit about the efficiencies that can be created, but just to give you some real use examples of the amount of time that can be saved, and some other things that people don't always consider, because even though we hate documentation, we're really good at documenting the bad things that happen. What we're terrible at doing is documenting the good things that happen. By being able to reward somebody who's doing the right things, we're really quick to be there to punish, because that's what we with limited time frames. And so, being able to have a body-worn camera that can transcribe an incident, that can draft a summary report, can be equally effective when you're dealing with an incident report for an emergency that happened, or whether you're trying to reward somebody who was doing the right thing, whether you had a positive interaction. And those are really hard for staff to make the time to do, but it has a significant impact on the trust and the perceptions that we're trying to engender with the people who are impacted by the criminal justice system. So it's not just responding to emergencies and being able to more quickly document or access information or all of those things. It's also about making it easier for staff to do the right things in the field, which is, go ahead and let's reward people who are doing the right things, not just being really good at catching people who are doing the wrong things. So when you take all of that, I think when you survey people that have ventured into the body-worn camera space, clearly a lot of people do it because of the limited risk profile, because of how much it limits liability. But the real upside in body-worn cameras and a lot of these associated technology is a very real opportunity to change the work experience for the people who do these important jobs every single day. It's a unique opportunity to allow them to do more of the things that drew them to this profession. It's a way to support them and support the people who are doing work the right way for the right reasons. And most importantly, it allows us to put our resources in different areas, to reinvest in our human capital so that it can be the most impactful and that we can get the best outcomes possible.